What's up everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Inspired Chats. Another episode, Where Are They Now? This is part 3. If you haven't seen the other 2, head on over to our YouTube channel and check it out. We're going to start off with one of the craziest built vans in Australia, and that is this bad boy. They outdid themselves in this van, and the good thing is, it is still around today. Still looks the same as what it was when it left Chop Shop a few years ago. It's a pretty sick van. It's got big billets, it's bodied, but it's sick. It's absolutely wicked. And next up we got Predator. Now Predator was around in the early 2000s, and I'm talking early 2000s. It was wicked, it was white, had a bunch of chromies on it, full interior, all this airbrushing all throughout. It was a pretty well-known truck in the early 2000s. It went every show, Auto Salon, all the other smaller sort of shows. I can't remember what the name of them are. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it did in the early 2000s now. It looks like it's been sort of parted out, bits and pieces are gone from different truck to truck. This photo was a couple years ago, not too sure where it is now, but unfortunately it's just not what it was. And this is what happens to a lot of trucks. A lot of them get parted out or a lot of them get scrapped. But whoever buys that, it's got a bit of history. So the next truck we're going to talk about is something that's been around for a very long time, and it's gone through a whole bunch of different names. Tux 20s, then it was called Sedate, and a bunch of all different stages to build. Ended up in Vegas, which is where a lot of people noticed it. It was purple, 1UZ supercharger in it, bagged, it was sick. Like everyone loved that back then. It then got painted, and then it's changed names again. It's now called Sedate. It's in Sydney, still getting driven pretty regularly. That truck is next level. Like if you ever look at that closely, the amount of detail that's in that truck is out of this world. It's really done exceptionally well. It's good to see it around, still driving. Hopefully we get to feature it one day. I've had a couple of people ask us about Defective. Now Defective was a yellow space cab courier from the early 2000s. It was bagged on sort of stockish style wheels. With Defective, it also went through a bunch of changes, got big billets, got suicide doors and all that sort of stuff, and then it went into the cab you see today. I don't know what happened to the chassis or the rest of the body or anything. It is currently for sale at This Guy's Customs. He is trying to sell it right now. It is just a bare cab, which is unfortunate. But like I said before, these things happen. It was this purple Hilux that ended up being called On Floor. Now that went purple, had a few different stages, and then it went to white and green with Tacoma front end, which is where I think a lot of people would have recognized it. It ended up going black, got different tail lights and everything on it, different wheels, and it ended up being extremely clean. Like really, really nice truck. It's still around. Corey that used to own it sold it a couple years ago, not too sure where it is now, but it did get driven a hell of a lot, which was good. Another truck that a lot of people would have recognized was this old space cab rodeo that was bagged on 20s and had a tilt tray on it. But that wasn't the only cool thing about it. It had crazy amount of detailed work in the paint job. Airbrushed everywhere, tribal designs, the whole deal. That thing was sick. And then it ended up somehow along the last 15 or so years, it ended up going from the bag chassis to a stock chassis. And it's still around today. It's in Queensland. Still looks the same, minus it's got different wheels and different front end and stuff on it. But the paint job still looks pretty killer. I saw it a couple of years ago at Jamboree in Queensland, and it still looked in tip-top condition, which is good to see. At least it's still around. So one truck we've been constantly pretty much harassed about is Delayed. Now Delayed was burgundy rodeo single cab. It was bagged, had scallop paint job, all old school style things, and had a bomb, has an air tank. It is still around today. Unfortunately, it's not looking the way it was in its prime condition. Seen better days, but at least it's still around and not scrapped. Next up is a dual cab stretched rodeo. It was black and red, and it was bagged on 20s. I think the 20s or 22s, I could be wrong. That got around a fair bit. Unfortunately, that got scrapped also. That is not around anymore. That was a pretty cool truck. Definitely stood out with the two-tone paint job. And yeah, that's just what happened to it, unfortunately. And last but not least, IB Dragon. Now, if you're in the early 2000s, you would have seen this truck, not from its hard body drop that it's got, but there's a massive bonnet on it. The thing was cool, like it definitely was different. It was meant to be dragged, it was meant to be driven hard, and that's pretty much what it's been doing for the last 20 years. It is now in Sydney. It does have a different paint job on it now. It does look a lot cleaner, and does get driven, which is great. And before I go, check out this. Memphis Hell. Got the clothing out. Check out Certified Printing and order yours today. They are comfy, you can get them in tall tees, and they're fucking sick. That's it for this episode. Hopefully this gives you an insight of where are they now. If you have any more questions about some trucks, comment below. We'll be sure to get to them. And if there is any other trucks you want to see, comment. Because it's pretty hard to decide on which ones people want to see. So let us know in the comments. Be good. And like and subscribe.